Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back with two track guides for the FIA races that are on today. I do understand that some people might have already done these races if you're from different parts of the world, and may have already done these as they have their races a little bit earlier. I wanted to get these out though for the other people that haven't done them yet. I couldn't get them out yesterday because I wasn't at home all day yesterday. I was actually out and didn't have a chance to get on. Then when I got back I was setting up my new recording device. I've actually now got an Elgato HD 60S. I did order the Pro, but the Pro had problems on my PC. My PC is very powerful, but it wasn't, there was something causing an issue with the Pro when it was going through the PCI slot. It was just causing massive issues, and I don't understand what reasons there was behind that. So I've ended up getting the HD 60S and it seems to be working fine so far. This is recorded on that. One of the laps, the gameplay is recorded from the standard PS4, obviously the 1080p 30 frames per second, but the replay's been done on the HD 60S, so hopefully you're going to see an improvement in the quality of the videos in terms of the smoothness, because you can see, I can spot it straight away on the replays and on the gameplay. You can see the 60 frames per second much better now. Obviously before I was recording on the PS4 Pro at 1080p 30 frames per second and then going onto my software and upscaling that to 60 frames per second, so it kind of looks smoother than you would do if you were just doing it through PS4, but now it's native 60 frames per second. It's proper 60 frames per second. It's what it's been played at, and hopefully you'll see that within the replays and on the gameplay side of stuff. And also another benefit now is I've also got obviously a webcam, a good webcam, and now I've got the HD60S. I can start looking into doing some proper streaming on the channel. It's not going to be straight away. I've got to work it all out. So within a few weeks or so, hopefully I'll be doing some streaming. I probably won't stream FIA races because I want 100% concentration for them, but in terms of practice lobbies and stuff like that, and custom lobbies that I'll do for anyone and subscribers to join, I will be doing that in the future, and obviously streaming it and stuff. So, and obviously once the FIA is over, daily races, I'll probably stream them because I'm not too worried about them, but FIA I will want 100% concentration. So I'm going to go through to the track guide. This was recorded on the HD 60S, both parts of this, but I'll show you when it wasn't. Hopefully you can see straight away that it is a lot smoother. I can see it when I'm watching it, the 60 frames per second look a lot better. So long straight into turn one, flat out, just try and get a clean exit from that final corner. We're going to slow it down as we get to the braking zones. I'm going to try and point out some of the braking zones that I use. Obviously some cars are a bit faster than the Mercedes, so you're going to probably have to alter these slightly. The Mercedes isn't particularly strong here. It's not the type of track, I knew it wouldn't be anyway, because it's not slow corners, it's a lot of fast corners and top speed, so everything goes against the AMG here. So it's just about getting consistent race done at this track. Looking at your first braking zone is pretty much on that 100. That's where I start braking, the 100 ball above your head, and then trying to keep it nice and close to the inside barrier on the right hand side, and then slowly feed the power in as you come close to that wall. I actually give it a little tap there, but you can get away with that. And then again, try and get it very close to the inside wall on the right hand side and get on the power as early as possible coming out of that corner, and then working your way back into the full flat out zone. There's no lifting through these corners. These are completely flat out all the way through. You can see staying close to the inside wall on the left hand side, and then again same thing for this right hand wall, staying as close as you can for that right wall, and then just braking just past 100, pretty much in between the 50 and the 100, just a quick little bit of braking down into fourth gear, and then on the power as early as you can to try and get out of that corner at least 131, 132 miles per hour. I didn't quite hook that up, as you can see the ghost pulled away a bit. I didn't carry as much speed as I would have liked for that corner. This corner just requires a slight little lift. You can do it flat, but I just find giving it a little lift just makes it a little bit more consistent. And again, for this left hand corner, you want to carry about 138 to 139 miles per hour through the corner, and then keep the throttle planted all the way on the exit. You can see the ghost got ahead there, but I clipped the wall on the ghost lap there, and then braking just before the 50 board above your head there, and try and keep it as close to that wall in fourth gear as possible, and get your car over to, you see how I swing it over to the right hand side to chuck it into this left hand side, and a little lift off the accelerator, and then planting it straight back down just so that it bites down and I get a little bit of turn in, and I can carry the momentum all the way out the exit. You can see pulled away from the ghost a little bit there, and then working our way into the next braking point, just in between, pretty much just before the 100 and in between the 150 and the 100. A bit closer to the 100, I'd say, down into second gear, and try and keep it as close to the apex as possible, but you need to square it off so you can really get on the power nice and early. You can see I was a little bit hesitant of putting the power down because I had to be very careful with the steering inputs, but managed to do it reasonably well and got the power down okay in the end. I ran really wide there just so that I could put more power down, and that's why I obviously didn't put as much steering angle in, because then I can put more power down and get more exit speed all the way down to the finishing line. And we go over to the finishing line on a 1 minute 59.7 I think it is as we go over the line. Have a little look, you can see before that my potential was down to a 59.3, so I think it's now down, when I checked it was a 59.2, so there is more potential with this car, and hopefully we'll get to a little bit faster if I really want to, but I'll probably concentrate on race practice because I've not got much time to practice. We'll have a little look at that lap without slowing it down from behind the car now. Hopefully, again, this was recorded with the HD60S, the Elgato, so hopefully you can start seeing some improvements in the quality of the videos. The visual side does look a little bit better as well than recording it directly from the PS4. It's capturing more of the lighting effects and stuff, so it does look a little bit better, I think, visually. Not massively on the visual, but the smoothness I can definitely see is an improvement over the PS4 because it's now 60 frames per second. And I'm really looking forward to being able to stream with obviously a proper webcam. The reason I didn't do it direct from the PS4 was, although you can do 1080p at 60 frames per second, the default camera on the PS4 isn't very good. You can't set up overlays, you can't set up proper stuff to notify you of when subscribers obviously subscribe to your channel. You know, I want to be able to thank these people that are coming to my channel when I see that they've come. I don't want to not know anything about it. I think it makes it a bit more interactive between myself and the community. So hopefully we're going to be streaming once it's all up and running and I know what I'm doing. Obviously there might be a few test streams where I'm a little bit sketchy on stuff because I'm not 100% sure how to do certain things, but once we're all up and running and I'm able to do it, I'll hopefully be doing at least 2 to 3 streams a week. Might not always be GT Sport, but there'll be a minimum of 2 GT Sport streams every week, I think, and maybe even more. It all depends on what time I have. Hopefully I'll have a lot more time come September, so the channel should be getting a lot more content for GT Sport and other games like F1 2018, 2018, and the newer set of course and competition that's coming out, and competition A or whatever it is, that's coming out onto PC. I'll be getting that, and maybe some iRacing content streamed in the future as well once all the FIA is finished. But they'll be definitely obviously keeping the daily videos on GT Sport and obviously streaming as much as possible on GT Sport. So hopefully the channel's going to be getting even bigger now that I've got obviously the higher quality footage. A lot of people are quite I'd say they're very particular about stuff like this, so hopefully it'll bring in some more people to the channel. And we'll now go on to the next lap at Autodrome Maggiore, I think it is, the west version of the track. Now this was recorded on PS4 at 30 frames per second. You can see it's not as smooth, but I did this before I had set up the HD60. So going into turn 1, you're going to brake just before the 100. I'm using the Veyron for this lap. Down into 3rd gear, then 2nd gear a little bit later on. Don't go straight down to 2nd gear. You can see there, just before I hit the apex I go down to 2nd. It just keeps the car a little bit more stable. And then try and swing it into this corner as much as possible. 4-wheel drive will try and understeer you a bit, but you have to be brave and get on the power very early. You can see maximum power on there already. And then try and upshift fairly early. About just over halfway on the revs I think is optimal for this car. You can see I do an early upshift there because it helps in maintaining the line that you want, and also it doesn't lose too much by early upshifting anyway, the Veyron. It actually increases it sometimes. And then you see I change gear pretty much all the way just past halfway. I find optimum for this track. It's strange though, because when I was at Monza I found that revving out was a little bit better. It's really weird. I think it depends on whether you're going uphill on that. So next braking zone just before the 50, down into 3rd gear, and try and hold it as close to this apex as possible. You have to be very careful now. They've tightened up the track limits on that corner, so you do run the risk of getting a penalty there. Now working our way all the way up the hill, and try and make sure that you get the straightest line possible through this corner so that you don't have to put as much steering input as possible in. It then reduces any scrubbing off of speed and keeps as much momentum all the way into the next braking zone, which is going to be in between that 100 and the 50 board, down into 4th gear. Try and keep it nice and tight to this curb on the right hand side. You can cut a little bit, but too much again and it will now give you a penalty, so you have to be very careful there. Staying in 4th gear in the Veyron, try and keep it nice and tight to this point, and give it a little lift off the accelerator and then hard back on the throttle will enable the car to keep its line all the way through the corner without running over the curb on the left hand side and picking up a penalty. Then you're going into the next braking zone, which is a very tricky one, down into 4th gear. I do it just before the curb on the right hand side ends, and try and get as close to this apex as possible. and then put maximum power in. I actually did that reasonably well, and an early upshift into 5th gear all the way now to the finishing line. Then we go over the line. I didn't push this too hard, a 1 minute 27.7 I think it is. There was more potential with that. I think I could have got that down to a 27.3 or 4, but obviously I don't want to spend too long on these time trials. It's just more about getting used to the track. So I'll let the this play now from behind the car. Obviously this was recorded on the Elgato now, so you might see that obviously it's a bit smoother than the PS4 gameplay. As you can see, it's in 60 frames per second. Now, one thing I will say is I probably won't be using this car, but I felt like this was a car that the majority of people are going to end up using for this race. I think a lot of people, you know, lower splits are going to use this race because it is probably the fastest and easiest car to drive. However, my decision is going to be between the Citroen, the Cayman, and possibly the SLS, but more so the Citroen or Cayman because of the fuel saving of the SLS. So that's where I'm looking at. I really like the way the Cayman feels at this track, so it's possible that I'm going to go for the Cayman because I think there's more qualifying potential in that over the Citroen, and qualifying is so important in these races. That's where my head's at. The Veyron's going to be probably the fastest at qualifying, so it could be a mixture of cars in the top split races. It's going to be really interesting what cars people have picked and how they've gone about the decisions for this race. I'm really interested to see how this race goes. I haven't put too much practice in, so again, not expecting too much, because this track, to be brutally honest, is one of my weaker tracks on the game. It's never really been a track that has fully clicked with me, so any sort of average result, I think I'd take anything over 1700 to 1800 points. So I'm not expecting much at all, but pretty similar story for the manufacturers as well, with the car not being particularly strong. Anyway, hope you enjoyed these 2 track guides. Hope it helps out a little bit. I would have liked to obviously got out a more in-depth one a little bit sooner, but I obviously wasn't in yesterday, so hopefully you understand that. And I'll be back tomorrow with either the Nations or the Manufacturers race, whatever I decide to bring out first. I'm going to hopefully be recording it all from the Elgato. I'll obviously do a backup copy on the PS4 as well, just in case something goes wrong. But it's a good little thing to have anyway, that it makes everything a little bit easier and quicker for me also, because I can now record straight onto a hard drive on the PC rather than having to transfer everything over. So everything's just a little bit quicker now, so hopefully more content, better content, and more streaming coming in the future. So let me know what you think about that, if you're excited for the streaming. I'm really looking forward to doing it and being able to talk to you live as well, and try and answer any questions that I see when you bring it up. Obviously I'm not going to be able to answer every question. Obviously from racing, I tend to not be able to read when racing. I kind of have to concentrate when I'm racing, so I'll do my best to interact with everyone when I'm streaming, and hopefully you enjoy that when I do it. Anyway, give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and obviously the FIA races that will be uploaded. And obviously click that notification button so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back very soon.